Vela here, back again with Jonas from Edge Alerter. If you remember, we talked about a year ago on the TradeMate Sports Betting podcast. So we thought we'd, reconvene, see how Edge Alerter's going, what you guys have been up to, and what the plan is for the future, mate. So why don't we just, kick things off with how are you and what Edge Alerter's been up to.
Alex, good to see you again. Yeah, good to chat. You've obviously spoken with. How many podcasts have you done over the years in betting?
Too many, mate. Hundreds.
Yeah, hundreds. But yeah, thanks for the intro. Overall, things are going really well with Edge Alerter. I guess been super busy with many things, but I think we spoke maybe 9 months ago. What's happened since then? Our membership's probably gone 4x since then. Rolled out a few new products, but really, ultimately, we're mapping out sort of where we want to be. Where we want to take Edge Alerter members, in the longer term as well. So we've obviously got a large reliance on promotions, and there's a lot of edge in that. But we've been working pretty hard. We've made some recent hires, hired some quants to help us sort of build these new products for members going into the future. Apart from that, super busy. The bookie landscape is still full of edge here in Australia. Which is fantastic for us. There's seemingly a new one popping up every minute. Apart from that, things are really rolling along nicely. The members, we're working on a few new products for members. One of the things that as we've scaled, one of the challenges has been the reliance on me for messaging. So I probably get 50 to 100 Telegram messages a day, and it's so we're sort of trying to roll that into a more professional chatting functionality where we can get our team involved and we can be a bit more responsive. We're trying to move all the members over, migrate over to a platform where they can see even more data on our results. They can obviously live chat. They can manage their memberships on their own as well. So we're now at a point where we sort of have to build a proper CRM around all that and a proper platform. But those are all good problems to have because I guess it suggests that things are growing and things are ticking along nicely.
No, for sure, mate. So do you want to kind of, delve a bit deeper into some of the, big updates you've got coming forward or things that you've worked on most recently? I know you've touched on building out, well, you just mentioned there, trying to keep as many customers on board, past the point where they get promo banned and all these kind of horrible things that bookmakers do to us. Some of the things you've got coming through that's going to try and, keep people along for the ride a bit longer.
Yeah, good question. I mean, the way I see an Edge Alerter member evolving, currently it's, you start maybe with a 500 bank, maybe 1,000, you start making a few $100s a week, get your head around how to convert bonuses into cash, and that's all good and well. And there are about 20 bookies that you can have accounts with. And if you sort of go through that process systematically that we teach, you can realistically make 30, 40K over about a year or so. Some members will go quicker as they'll sort of scale things up, but that's about, most members end up making about 30 or 40K before they start really hitting the ceiling of promo ban issues. So we're trying to work out how we can get those members who get to that 30, 40, 50K cap. What can we roll them into next so that they can continue to be profitable and be part of Edge Alerter? So the key things that we've got in the pipe where our golf model you might have heard of, and there've been a few videos on that, but really trying to work out how we can roll that into an even more full-fledged product for members. And so what I mean by that is our golf system's obviously got edge over the bookies, but we just hit bonus bets on those, and they're great for converting at 110%. I think the profit on turnover recently, just over when we updated a couple of weeks ago the results, they're winning at about 18-20% profit on turnover. That's assuming that we're taking mid-market price. Like if you're going out to Betfair, for example, you're probably getting an average of 10% bigger price, even after margins factored in. So there's obviously something there. We're trying to work out how we can roll that into a more dynamic product for members. And a couple of insights I can give. We're just about at the back end of doing a Betfair API integration into our platform where you can see all the bonus bet tips in golf and then feed Betfair in straight into that. And you can see how your position is changing in terms of expectancy over the course of the tournament. That'll be super interactive. And because what we find in golf in particular is is that there's a lot of volatility in price, and we're almost always on site at some point during a tournament with our tips. So we'll get 20s over there, 30s, 50s over there. None of them might, like a lot of the time we have no winners because we're tipping 20, 30, 50s. But I'd say over 80% of the time, they're all firming at some point. So, and based on, conversations with a lot of Edge Alerter members, people are keen to sort of follow that along and be able more dynamic with trading. So we're going to do this Betfair API integration, which is going to bring that to life. That'll be super interesting. Just sort of expanding on the golf more is in play golf is something where we want to be. We're not going to get there in the next 2 months, but I personally bet in the run quite a bit using our model. And the problem I have is I've been marked up as sharp on the golf. So I'll see something and I'll call up, as you have to do in Australia, unfortunately. And let's say I have $500 at odds of 10, the bookie will either reject my bet and move the price straight into $8, or they'll let me on for maybe 250 and then wind it into like 650 or something. So I can't really do much about it. Like I can't really take advantage of that. However, imagine we roll that out to Edge Alerter members who aren't marked as sharp in the golf. So that'll be so that's something that we're working on as well, which I'm looking forward to. I think the way I see it, we could really dominate golf. Edge Alerter members could be like a significant percentage of market share in the global golf markets. Apart from that, probably the other thing that's quite interesting is in the non-promo space. You mentioned what's happening in non-promo land. Is we're working with a data provider at the moment. It's not just a data provider, but it's basically, long story short, we're able to pick up line movers quicker than the bookies. So if we can get on, imagine we can tip, these line movers. We're getting on, the members are getting on maybe -8.5, and before it's even the game's even started, we're at 12.5. So then you can sort of put a middle on. We're working on that. It's probably about 2 months away from launch, I'd say. We'll do some beta stuff in the next few weeks based on our back test. And we've actually not just been back testing, but live testing it as well. Turned over like tens of thousands to see if we can actually get on those prices. The profit on turnover looks about 5 or 6%, which isn't as high as our 30%, 31% with our promo stuff, but you can get on more size. You can get on, 400, 500 a bet. So that's in the pipe. That's pretty interesting. And that can be a global product as well. We get a lot of inquiries globally. Hey, how do I bet from, the UK or wherever? So that's going to be, stay tuned for that. Probably the final thing in non-promo is our racing bonus bet tip model. So that we're finding a value in a sort of $10, $15 price range, picking off the bookies there. And that's got true edge in it, about 8% profit on turnover edge, which is not bad in racing, given the market's usually like 115, 120% margin. The challenge, though, that members have with the racing bonus bet tips, which they love already, but the prices do move quite quickly. Like you need to be on ideally within 5-10 seconds. We're tipping 12s and it's kind of into 10.50 about 20 seconds later. So we've got a pretty interesting product there where we've been sort of beta testing that with members live. Well, it's actually a live product, but we're just sort of capping the group at the moment, where we're working with a provider of a bot service. So members are able to log into a platform, and when the tips come through, it automatically bets for members, and they're getting on within sort of 5 or 10 seconds. So that's super interesting. So we're but just basically working on the V2 of that for right now, before we look at scaling that one up. So those are the three main things in non-promo land.
Yeah, I mean, the more non-promo, products you guys can pull out, the better for people that have, whether they've been banned through their own betting or, through using Edge Alerter, through the bonuses. It's huge, mate, especially with the horse racing stuff. If you guys can start launching some horse racing products for non-promo markets, we've got the minimum bet laws here in Australia. We're talking, in some races, people will be guaranteed to win $2,000. And I mean, for most people, that's, not saying you're going to win every single bet, but if, we're talking about a profit on turnover, 5 and above %, must be a huge coup for Edge Alerter.
Yeah, for sure. Especially Saturday racing, the liquidity is so big. In Betfair across the bookies, they're pretty strong on their prices. They've got quite a lot of confidence there. So, and you mentioned minimum bet laws. Absolutely, they actually have to let you on. Although there's a bit of a caveat there. They can restrict, they can sort of slow you down and throttle you. But that's kind of at the edges of the real true sharps who are absolutely destroying certain bookies. They'll get sort of limited a bit. But certainly for Edge Alerter members' sake, there's a pretty decent opportunity there with taking advantage of the minimum bet laws.
Yeah, mate. It'll be exciting to see you, get those products out there, and so our customers can have a look and subscribe. Zooming out a little, what about the bookmaker landscape in Australia? I mean, it seems like, every month, every week, there's new bookmakers popping out. Some of them look very, very similar to each other, but I mean, the more bookmakers we can get out there, the more promo markets. So it all seems like it's in the favor of Edge Alerter members.
Yeah, you're right. There's a new bookie opening up every week seemingly, and you'll see them ads on Facebook, and you'll see odds aggregators pick them up, and you're like, where do some of them have strange names, but outside, there are lots of bookies opening up, and I think probably the main reason for that is the barriers to entry have dropped a little over the last year or two due to some white label solutions coming out into the market. BetMakers, from what I can see, has a pretty good product, and what they do is, if let's just say you and I, we go, hey Alex, I think we want to be a bookie now, let's set this thing up. There's a funding requirement. You need to get a license. There's a DD process there. They have to do background checks on us, the Northern Territory, or whatever regulator you're going with. They need to approve you. So you don't just click a button and pay a price. Like, there are some steps that you need to go through. But one of the key things that you also need to go through is, at the end of the day, like, what's your website going to look like? What are who creates those products? Like, there are hundreds and hundreds of things that you can bet on at the moment. Are you going to manually do that? Well, probably not. Who's going to settle the markets? Who's going to profile customers? All these sorts of things. So what these white label solutions offer is essentially a plug and play scenario where we sign up with them, and then our website looks exactly the same as basically many of their others, and we just change a bit of branding. The layout's the same, but happy days, we're up and running. So I think that's been a key driver of why there are more and more popping up every minute. But at the end of the day, we got to look at that and go, on the positive, that's great, because they almost always offer just about the same amount of promos as others. It's just a tried and tested method that they have for acquiring and retaining customers. Bonuses back for second and third, etc. So that's great. We've got even more bookies to target. However, on the flip side, we do need to sort of ask the question, I wonder if they're doing any data sharing. So don't know. It's just a thought. But if they are, then we've got to be a little bit more cautious with how hard we hit them, whether we're hitting them on promos or non-promos. We just got to be aware of that risk. So with those smaller ones, a lot of the promos they offer, they're during the week, on a lazy Thursday or a lazy Monday Arvo or whatever. So you kind of want to stay away from those really low liquidity events, and just focus really Saturday and Wednesday are the big opportunities with those smaller books.
Is that a lot of your process nowadays, trying to getting a feel for how these each individual bookmaker operates, and what gets what's more likely to get you limited, what's passable, all these kind of things? Is that almost part of the job is becoming educated on each individual bookmaker too?
Yeah, it's probably not on each individual level, but there are some core themes amongst them all. We got a very fast feedback loop, as I mentioned, but at the start of the interview, I'm getting like 50 to 100 messages a day, and a lot of that is feedback on bookies, on hey, what they're seeing. The bookies hanging bets, are they getting promo banned straight away? What's happening? So we've got a pretty good feedback cycle there, so that we can help even further develop kind of the educational side of how to stay under the radar, which is a big part of the jigsaw here.
Yeah, no, it is funny sometimes how you can get one limited from one bookmaker, and then half an hour later the other one comes through, and then another one, and it's all a little bit suspect, mate. But is there anything else you wanted to cover off on Edge Alerter, promo markets, anything in general before we call it a day?
I don't think so. I think just sort of we're seeing a huge opportunity now. Like as I mentioned, our membership's gone for like 4x in the last 9 months. But now with all those new products that I mentioned, the better experience for members in terms of managing their memberships and getting faster feedback as we're scaling as a business. We've obviously we're mapping out the future for Edge Alerter members as well. We're pretty excited about the rest of this year. We're going to go pretty hard at this. We've already had some pretty decent success, but I think this is only the beginning for us.
No, it's always exciting to see you guys, not only just sticking with what you've got, which is great enough, but to always be trying to add more. So yeah, well done, tremendous work, and sure we'll catch up soon again.
Thanks, Alex. Good to chat again.
Cheers. All right.